career. We have an opportunity for one person to join us. If you think you have what it takes to be successful in a fast-paced business and enjoy challenges, you might be the person we're looking for. One thing's for sure, there is never a dull moment in a radio station. Send us your resume for our first interview to sales@randyradio.com. We're an equal opportunity employer.
Your information station, WTIM.
Welcome to the WTIM Morning Show. I'm Avery Cooper. Glad to have you along. Your stream brought to you by Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark, and People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first. You'll find those streams online on the TaylorvilleDailyNews.com Facebook and on YouTube at WTIM TV. I have the library director of the Taylorville Public Library, Ryan Reitmeyer, in studio right now. Great to have you here, Ryan.
Great to be here. Nice finally meeting you. I've been watching since I moved here, so it's weird to finally be in the seat.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. So tell me a little bit about your background, if you would.
Sure, yeah. So I'm originally from Champaign, Illinois. I graduated with my master's in library and information science in 2021. So during the height of COVID, I graduated from U of I with undergrad in 2017 with a degree in history and poli-sci. So originally I was really interested in kind of working on campaigns and I entered at the state treasurer's office. And that's really where I think my passion started. And quickly I realized that that's not where the money is. It's hard to live like that. So I kind of got a job in marketing and just worked for a few years and realized that libraries are just where my passion is. And I love working with people and kind of being in the community. So that's what got me there. And this job opened up and we moved here and it's been great ever since. So it's really kind of my first big foray into the public. I worked at the university library there at the UGL, the undergrad library. And that was fantastic. A lot of great kind of experiences, but that's a school library. It's very different from public. So it's kind of just shifting that and kind of taking that new challenge that comes with the public, because it kind of incorporates a whole slew of new opportunities and kind of ways to reach people. So
of course, tell me a little bit about the Taylorville Public Library,
Sure.
Including just, who's in charge of it, where it is, what it is, what's the focus, etc. Just give me the overview, if you will.
Sure. Yeah. So I'll give you kind of the down and dirty of how libraries work in Illinois, actually, too.
Okay.
Taylorville Public Library is a municipal library in the sense that we are a city library through the city. So the city board can appoint board trustees, of which we have 9. So that's kind of the governing body for the library and how we get taxes and how we levy things and stuff like that. The board's all wonderful, very involved. To be a member of the board, you've got to be a member of the community. You've got to live in Taylorville. So it kind of ensures that everyone has that buy-in. Everyone's really involved and wants the best for their community. I'm the library director, so I'm kind of the head official under that board, and I report to the board directly. That's kind of how the government is structured with the board, but we have tons of staff. We've got 7 or 8 staff members, and they are all just dedicated public servants who love the library and love Taylorville and love helping people. And that's really what makes a great library is just staff that's dedicated to making sure the community's where it needs to be and serving the people it needs to serve. So
as a community member, what do I need to sign up for the Taylorville Public Library?
Sure. So essentially it's pretty easy. If you live here and you live in town, your taxes go to it. And so all you have to do is show us proof of residence and we can get you signed up for a library card. I think the most common question is, how can I get my kid a library card? My kid goes to North, but we live out of town or something like that. That happens pretty frequently. That's something we've been working on a lot recently. We've been publicly partnering with as many schools in the area as we can. So we're partnered with Memorial. We're partnering with North. We're in the process of doing that. We'll probably get St. Mary's in there too. We're going to do as much as we can. And there are a few programs, especially during COVID, that the government kind of opened up to allow us to offer library cards to those students. So if your student goes to North or Memorial, but you live out of town, reach out to your teacher and have them reach out to us or send me an email. Give us a call and we can definitely get your kid a library card. I think that's probably the most valuable use of our resources, ensuring that all of our kids have resources and books and the knowledge to learn and the tools to grow. So it's as easy as that, just showing us where you live and we can get you a card. And if you're out of district, there is a fee for that because you don't pay taxes. I think it's $52 off the top of my head. But again, we will do everything we can to make sure that fee is not there if we can. So we have laws we have to abide by, but
Of course.
we really do try and make it so it's as equitable as possible. So that hopefully we can make it so you don't have to spend any money when you come to the library and you can get the stuff you need.
With that being said, obviously, I think off my knowledge, right?
Sure, yeah.
Taylorville Public Library is the only library
In the city.
right
Yes.
in the city, and I can't think of one. And for example, Stonington,
Mhm.
I know Edinburgh. Does Edinburgh have one?
So actually, it's a great kind of a great history lesson here. Stonington does actually have a library. They have a
Do
it's
they?
yes, a part-time librarian. I've spoken to her before. She's a great dedicated public servant. But yeah, they don't have the resources
I see.
or there's the dollars really
Right.
to collections are expensive, staff are expensive, and so that's really where it kind of bridges Taylorville.
Right.
As kind of the center of this county, this very rural county, and kind of where we fit in and how this library can fit in and serve its constituents. Because at the end of the day, those Stonington people, I mean, people need libraries, even if you are rural. And for
Right.
example, Edinburgh does not have a public library. So we were able to partner with Edinburgh schools because of that. There's legislation in the books that if you don't have a public library that serves you and kids are on free and reduced lunch, you can offer them public library cards. So we were actually able to offer Edinburgh students public library cards at Taylorville.
Excellent. Okay.
And it's something that I think is just a benefit all around. It takes very few of our resources, but offers kids finally the ability to get a book they want, because unfortunately, when schools cut things, the first thing they cut are libraries generally, or library staff or stuff like that. And at the end of the day, it's a big job. So it's nice to offer those kids something they wouldn't otherwise have.
Right, of course. And I would imagine too that it would just be a matter of, maybe if you don't have a child who's attending school, if you want a membership and you don't live in the Taylorville city limits, you just need to bring proper documentation and maybe the money for a fee.
Exactly. Yeah. And we will do everything we can within the guidelines we offer to make it so we can get you that stuff. And you can use all of our services without a library card too. The library card is just to check things out.
Right.
So if you want to come in and use our computers or use our Nintendo Switch we have there, or use anything in building, you don't have to have a card at all. You can just come in and use that stuff too.
Excellent. All right. Anything else that you'd like to say about library access?
All that essentially the only thing we want to do is offer everything we can to you. So that is that's the ethos of the library, really. If you don't have access to it, we want to get you access to it. So if there's something that we don't have that you'd like to see, or there's something that you're like, wow, this library did a bunch of cool stuff here, but I'm not seeing it here, reach out. We want to improve, we want to serve you. So that's the most important thing. Efficient use of your tax dollars, that's the best use for the library. So
yeah, you also have a lot of electronics available too, with the computers and everything like that. When are those available?
Sure. So essentially, and it's kind of something the library's been evolving with, right? Is and many older folks remember the library as a place for books and kind of to study and stuff, and certainly it still is that. But the library has had to evolve in the past few years, right? Ebooks are kind of just ambiguous with people. I mean, I have an e-reader, and kind of that brick and mortar place to check out books isn't necessarily as needed as it used to be. So that's kind of where libraries are evolving, and now we offer digital services. Ebooks are the biggest thing through services like Libby or Hoopla, where you can check out and listen to e-readers having to buy them. It's wonderful stuff. We also have a Switch. We're getting Switch games all the time. We're continuously updating that stuff, and if you were looking for other games, other consoles, or stuff like that, reach out to us. All it takes is you saying, "Hey, we're interested in this," and we'll try and get it if we can. But we have pretty much anything you could want in terms of digital and physical. I would say where we're really trying to start to expand is streaming services. I mean, everyone knows just how insane streaming services are right now. There's like 40 of them, right? And so I think really where we're kind of finding the next niche that libraries fit in is offering like a Fire Stick that has, this has Netflix on it, or this has HBO on it. And so you don't have to pay the subscription that month. You can just watch Game of Thrones and then give it back, and then you just watch it for free. You don't have to pay that subscription. So I think areas like this are kind of unique problem-solving tools the library is looking at to say, hey, how can we stay relevant, and how can we still offer these tools and these services in a new way that hasn't ever been seen before?
I want to dive into that a little bit more, but first, let's head into a short break. Let me reintroduce you. That's Ryan Reitmeyer. He's the library director for Taylorville Public Library here in Taylorville. Your stream brought to you by Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark, and People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first.
WTIM.
Check the markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn slightly higher, beans double-digit lower, wheat trading slightly higher. September corn 673 up 4, December corn up 2, 667 and 3/4, March corn up 2 1/4, 673 and a half. September beans down 17 and a half, 1493. November beans down 26 and a half, 1394. January beans 1398 and 3/4, down 26 and a half. September wheat up 1 1/4, 794 1/4. December wheat up 4 3/4, 815 and 3/4. September bean meal 435.90, down 8.20. September bean oil 70.03, down $1.47. In the livestock market, September feeders 184.90, up $1.02. October live cattle 145.02, up 47 cents. October lean hogs unchanged 90.02. In the energy market, October crude oil 86.83, down 4 cents. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network.
This is a station editorial. I'm Randall J. Miller, station president. The word inflation is one we hear practically every day in the news. And of course, both political parties are blaming each other for it. Truth is, no matter where you go or what you buy, you're feeling its effects. I want to delve into the why we have the inflation rate at plus or minus 10% over the past year. It's simple economics, capitalism, and the marketplace. Reason number one of two. When both parties passed legislation borrowing or printing over $2 trillion, that's trillion with a T, dollars to pass out, claiming the country needed it in 2021 despite the signs the economy was doing okay, that's going to cause inflation and a lot of it. Reason number two of two. When politicians shut off the domestic oil spigot because the majority party is realizing that instead of having 4 years to pass their green agenda, they now have less than 3 months, they've got to stop anything that'll increase domestic oil supply and more, begin ramping down anything that burns fossil fuel. The problem is when you shut down increased production of fossil fuels that still power homes, businesses, and factories, you can't ramp up the green agenda to generate power fast enough. Wind and solar aren't being built quick enough to replace the fossil fuels the majority party are shutting down. That's why one of my transmitter side power bills last month went from $1,200 to over $3,100. Ouch. Well, there you have it. Simple economics, capitalism, and the marketplace. And when politicians tamper with it, it turns into a mess and is hitting our pocketbooks and will continue to do so for quite a while. When the marketplace is left alone without any tampering by the government, it works pretty well. When government, whether it's federal or state, does tamper with it, you and I will be paying more for our energy, goods, and services for a long time. That's our opinion. We welcome yours. Our email address is editorial@randyradio.com.
Your information station, WTIM.
Welcome back to the WTIM Morning Show. I'm Avery Cooper. Your stream brought to you by Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark, and People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first. I'm here with Library Director Ryan Reitmeyer, the Taylorville Public Library. And before we went to break, Ryan, we talked a little bit about some of the ways that the library is evolving and some of the things that you offer. And that includes a lot of digital options. Now, that sounds like really great. I want more digital options, but maybe not everybody wants digital.
Yeah.
So could you maybe distinguish what's available digitally and maybe what's old-fashioned?
Sure. Yeah. The way I talk a lot of the time, I'll pretend like the old-fashioned doesn't exist anymore. It certainly still does. That's the millennial in me. We have plenty of books. I mean, our collection's always growing. A good chunk of our budget is always towards updating our collection. So first and foremost, every year we're weeding out old books that aren't getting checked out, putting in new books that are relevant to the community and readers. And that's just looking at circulation stats, right? So if a book's not getting checked out for 5 years, it's probably not very relevant to our readers, right? So there's that. Similarly, we also have magazines, and those are, I think, very, very people are interested in still. And we have newspapers as well. I know a lot of folks don't like getting newspapers anymore. I mean, people my age barely even read newspapers, but folks still come in and read those. You don't have to have a subscription anymore. So that's really nice. I think the main thing that the library offers still that is kind of old school is just a community place to meet. If you really think about it, that doesn't exist anymore, right? You have Starbucks. Well, not anymore in Taylorville, unfortunately, but you had Starbucks. It's one of those places where wow, where's a free place where we have no expectation to spend money for us to go that we can just hang out? And I don't think that really exists anymore. And I think there is value in that being offered, especially like things that come to mind, DCFS visits. They need to happen somewhere, right? The library is a perfect safe place for those to happen. Free and easy birthday parties, great example of low income families. They don't have the money to go and spend at a restaurant, right? Library is a free place. They can have some snacks. I think a lot of the time when folks are thinking, oh, how does a library serve me? Or why would I go to the library? The question isn't necessarily how does it serve you? It's how does it serve everyone, right? So for example, I've got a computer at home and a printer and stuff. I don't need to go print at the library. But I know that a lot of folks don't have those things. And so just opening those options up to everyone kind of ensures that everyone has the same equitable access to every resource they need.
Yeah. And, you kind of lead right into where I'm going with this, because you mentioned how the public library is always a great place for the community to meet.
Yeah.
And you're doing a lot of that by offering events and readings and stuff like that. So tell me a little bit about what you have planned in the coming future.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a lovely programming coordinator. Her name is Jessica Green. And she is, and other staff obviously assist her too. But she's always working on doing programs for youth, programs for adults. Right now we have 2 ongoing book clubs. We've got an adult book club and a teen book club. The adult book club has a lot of regular attendees and is pretty set in stone and is pretty good. We're really working on getting teens involved. Something that we're kind of seeing a resurgence is that young people are really loving libraries. They're kind of, I think with people my age they didn't see it as necessary, right? Computers just starting to get into the homes and stuff. But young people are really starting to think that libraries are cool again and as like a place to meet and hang out and kind of just chat with each other after school. So I kind of see, hopefully, in the next few years, young people moving into that space and kind of making it their own and being able to take advantage of those resources. We just did a cookie decorating workshop. And to be honest, similar to that, all the fun stuff that we offer, we have some grant money coming in that is dedicated to educating the workforce or training folks in different things. We've got one coming in through the pipeline for Excel, for a beginner Excel course, which I know tons of folks need and just helps your resume, right? You can say, hey, I took an Excel course. I'm suitable in X, Y, and Z now. Or a CPR course we're working on in the future too. These skills that you don't really have an option to learn, and these are all free to the public too. So these are covered by grants. You sign up, and these are things you don't have to pay for at all, and you can just get that skill, which I think is where we're finding the library's most success. Right, is saying, hey, these are the relationships we have in the community. These are kind of how we can partner, and these are what we can offer to you as a value add, right? These are your tax dollars are being used really efficiently here. Look at all these awesome things you can do, right? So that's what we're seeing, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. My memory is about as bad as a dog's. We've got paint night, story time.
I've read somewhere that a average adult's attention span is about that of a goldfish these days.
That makes perfect sense.
So you know what? Don't feel bad at all.
It's the phones and the screens, right?
Exactly.
Yep.
You read my mind.
Real
quick, who are these grants through?
Sure. So a slew of different options. Illinois has quite a lot of library grants. The Illinois Library Association is robust. And ALA, which is the American Library Association, is based in Chicago. So Illinois is very uniquely poised to kind of interact with these groups. So they're usually offered through there. Federal money is also coming in. Just every city unit is seeing a ton of federal money come in right now. I mean, that's pretty ubiquitous throughout.
Yeah.
But we've got federal grants coming in through too. We just replaced both entrances with our doors with brand new sliding glass doors. Much easier for elderly patrons or people with disabilities to walk in. So grant funding is kind of through the roof right now. And if you look for it, you'll find it. Which is, I would say, a good chunk of my job right now is just finding that free money and seeing where it can be most reasonably spent and used to help the public.
Of course. Briefly here, what books are the book club reading?
Ooh, that's a great question. I don't know off the top of my head.
All right.
I have to pass on this one. That's Jessica handles most of the book club.
All right, no worries.
But I know that they are deciding for the teen book club, and these are things that they get new ones all the time. So I'll have to be like, oh, I'm not sure on that one.
With that said, though, since they're kind of figuring out what book to read right now. If teens are interested in this book club, I'm sure that she'd be open to suggestions.
Absolutely. Yes, please. Any teens interested in joining. We're also looking at starting a teen advisory board. All this is saying, hey, what do you want to see out of your library? And we'll serve pizza and drinks. And you have to come for an hour out of the month. So we're just really trying to get input and kind of hear from what teens want to see and how they want to use the library.
Ryan, thank you so much for coming on.
It's a pleasure talking to you.
That's Library Director Ryan Reitmeyer here on the WTIM Morning Show.
WTIM.
Now, Big 870 WTIM is